Hi guys, welcome back to the complete mobile app development tutorial series using Google Flutter for beginners. This is part 7 of this series. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn how to implement object-oriented programming in Dart programming language. So before starting this video tutorial, I will request you that if you haven't watched the previous video tutorial where I give introduction to Dart programming, then you must watch it first so that you understand the basic info of Dart programming language. You can find the link to the complete playlist of this video tutorial series in the description below, or you might find it as a first sticky comment under this video tutorial. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Before diving into object-oriented programming in Dart programming language, we should understand what is object-oriented programming, or OOP in short. So object-oriented programming, or OOP, is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects, which can contain data in the form of fields. Often we know these fields as attributes or properties, as well as in imperative structural programming we call them variable. And also it contains code in the form of procedures. Often we know them as methods, or in imperative procedural languages or procedural pattern we call them functions. A feature of object is an object's procedures or methods that can access and often modify the data fields of the object with which they are associative. Object uses a notion of this, or sometimes it uses self. In OOP, computer programs are designed by making them out of the objects that interact with one another. OOP languages are diverse, but the most popular ones are class-based, meaning that objects are instances of classes which also determine their types. Many of the most widely used programming languages such as C++, Java, Python, or just like those other object-oriented programming languages are multi-paradigms, and they support object-oriented programming to a greater or lesser degree, typically in combination with imperative procedural programming techniques. Significant object-oriented programming languages include Java, C++, C#, Python, R, PHP, JavaScript, Ruby, Perl, Object Pascal, Objective-C, as well as Dart, Swift, Scala, Kotlin, Common Lisp, MATLAB, and Smalltalk. So these are the languages which significantly follow object-oriented paradigm. So this is a small introduction of object-oriented programming. So we learned that we need to create object from the classes. So objects are instances of the classes. In Dart programming language, we use the same concept of classes to create new objects. So let's see some practical examples that how we create those classes, how we put data inside those classes and create attributes, properties, or variables, as well as how we define different visibilities of these properties and these properties and attributes, as well as the methods, or we call them procedures as well. So let's see some examples from Dart programming language. So here I'm on dartpad.dev, which is an online editor for Dart programming language, and I'm going to show you some examples of how to create classes, how to use them inside Dart. So first of all, we know that every object is an instance of a class, so we must declare a class with a keyword class. This is a reserved word in Dart programming language, then giving it a name with first letter as a capital, and then typing its every consecutive letter must be a capital. Every consecutive word must have a capital letter. So suppose I'm going to create a class with the name of person, so I have to put P as capital, then ERSON on small, and then we open and close the curly brackets. So this is a class which we have created successfully. We can derive different objects from this class, but right now this class does not have any attribute or property or procedure or method. So let's create some property. As we know, every person have a name, age, and address. So let's create a variables, or an attribute with the type of string, and we call it name. Then we create another attribute with the int data type, and we call it age, and then again we have a string where we can put address. So these are three attributes, or you can call them properties, or as well as in procedural we can call them as variables. After that, we can create methods or procedure there is a default procedure always created with every class, which is called a constructor. Either you create it or you don't create it, it is always created by default. But if you create them, then the Dart programming compiler will use that constructor and follow the pattern which you give you give to that particular constructor. For example, if I need to create a constructor, then I will give it a same. I will create a same function with. I will create a function with the same name of the class name. So here I have created a constructor with the same name of the class. So this is our constructor procedure. You can either use curly bracket with them, or you can simply put a semicolon and close it. So this constructor doesn't do anything. So if I want it to do something, for example, I want to create an object which accept three things from me: a name. So I will say this dot name. So whatever name I will give it, it will assign it to this string name. Then I will say this dot age and this dot address. This means when I initiate or when I create a person object, I must provide it with three you can call it parameters. Then this class will work. After passing these three variables or properties to this person constructor, and this will automatically set these property to these three properties. These three variables will automatically be assigned to these three properties. So sometimes I'm also get confused and say variables or properties or attributes. So stick in mind that if we are talking about object-oriented programming, attributes, properties or variable is the same thing. Same like procedure or function or method is the same thing, which is like this one. So now I will create another function which will return us a string of information, and it does not take any parameter, but it will simply say return welcome. And then we use string interpolation, which we have discussed in the previous video tutorial as well. We put a $sign and then put the variable name. Here either you can put this dot name or you don't need to put this dot name. But if you are using this, then you have to use it like this in curly brackets. After that it will work. So welcome name, your age is $sign this dot age, and your address is $sign this dot address. So we have successfully created a class with the name of person and a constructor named person with a method or procedure or a function named info, which does not take any parameter but return a string, which is interpolating the variables created on the top of the class. So now how we are going to use this class in our Dart program? So for that we have to create void main, and inside void main I can simply do three things to initiate this class. The first thing is I will simply say print person dot info, and then inside this person parenthesis I will say like John Doe and age 32, comma address New York, USA, and then we have to put a semicolon at the end, and this is it. We have successfully created and used our first class, and then I will press the run button and you will see this output will be shown on the screen. So welcome John Doe, your age is 32 and your address is New York, USA. So this is what we have given it to this class, and this class returns us this info. So this is one way of using a class. There is another way where we create a person type with the name of person equal to new person, and then again we pass variable like Jane Doe, age 25, address London, UK. So now we have created a variable from this person class with the new person keyword. Now I can simply say print person dot info. That's it, and I can then run it. There you go. Welcome Jane Doe, your age is 25 and your address is London, UK. So this is how you create classes in Dart programming language, and this is how you use them. So this new keyword is an optional. If you use it, it's okay. If you don't use it, even then it's okay. For example, if I simply remove this new keyword, even then our program will not complain anything and it will run as it is running with the new keyword. So new keyword is an optional, either you use them or you don't use them, it is all up to you. So this is another way of using the classes, and this is you oftenly will see in Flutter as well. So that is why in the Flutter every widget which is created is using a class. So you should understand these concepts properly to work with those widgets. So now let's talk about properties of object-oriented programming paradigm. I mean the features of object-oriented paradigm. So right now we have a class with the name of person, but there is another thing which is called visibility in object-oriented programming, that particular methods or functions or properties or attributes must be visible in certain situation and must be hidden in certain situations. For example, right now if you see that we have a string name, if I want to hide this name to access it anyone outside of this class, and I want to say that I don't want this name to be accessed outside of this class, so I want to make this name as a private. So for that what I need to do, I will simply do final string name. So that's it. Now this string name is a private to this class person only. I cannot reuse it. What do I mean by reuse it? Let me give you an example, then I will come back here. Let's see, if I say here person dot name is equal to something else, John William, and now if I press run button, you will see that now it will say welcome John William. So right now it is doing this because this name is a public property. How do I know it is a public property? Because in Dart programming language, to make a property public, private or protected, you have to use a certain naming conventions. For example, this string, if I use an underscore, it means this is a this is a protected variable or protected property. But unlike Java or C++, Dart does not have keywords public, protected and private. If like this an identifier you have with underscore, it is private to its library only. I mean it is a protected variable, but it is accessible within a library anywhere. For example, right now I can still access it by using this underscore name and this underscore name. I can still access it. Why is it? Because we are in a same file structure, in a same file. It is not a separate, it is not in a separate library. So that is why we can still access it. So if I run it, still you will see John Williams as the name, although we have put Jane Doe in the constructor, but still it is showing John William, because in Dart programming language it talks about libraries, and right now we are not talking about libraries. So to make this variable private to this class, we have to use a keyword final. So I have to say final string underscore name. After that, you see it is complaining that underscore name cannot be used as a setter because it is final. Means you can set it within this class, but you cannot set it outside of this class like here I'm setting. So this is why it is giving this error. So you can use a final keyword with the data type, and the name, it can be either underscore name or a simple name. It doesn't matter. It will work both ways. So you see it is working in the both ways. It is still complaining name cannot be used as a setter because it's a final. So this is a different concept in Dart programming language. You have to get used to it. Even if you have worked with another object-oriented programming language like C++, C# or PHP, or even Ruby on Rails, R programming language, Python programming language, you have to get used to these types of variables where you use the final keyword, and then this name cannot be used outside of this class. But if you don't use it, it can be used outside of the library, as well as it can be used anywhere throughout your program wherever you included that library. But if you make it private, then in this case it can only be used within that particular library, but it cannot be used outside of that particular library. Here I am using a single file, so that is why it is only working in this scenario. But when we learn how to install Dart SDK and use it inside your computer without using online editor, then we will further discuss these things more appropriately. So this is called visibility, and you can use this technique to make your properties and methods visible to the libraries or other functions. So next we talk about inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance means in object-oriented programming, a class shouldn't be rewritten every time. You should create a class which can be extended, and when you can extend a class, it means it can be inherited to another class. For example, this person class can be an employee or can be a student. So it means we don't need to write these lines of code again in and class employee. Like if I write class employee and copy same things from here, because every employee have a name, age and address. Additionally, it can have a SSN serial number, which can be a string SSN, and salary, double salary. So these are two extra properties it might have, this employee class. So why not we use this person class and extend this employee from this person, and then use all these features from here, plus wherever it is needed we can override it. What do I mean? Let's learn it by example. I have a class, then I can say extends person. So it means I am inheriting this employee from the person. Now I have access to all these properties and methods. So if I create extra properties like string SSN, social security number, then double salary, it can be anything, and here I will create a constructor with the name of employee, and then I will put here employee and this SSN, this dot SSN, comma this dot salary. Right now it will be complaining about the superclass person does not have a zero argument constructor, so we have to pass values to the parent constructor as well. So how we do that? For that we simply need to do is name, age and address. Pass these three arguments here, then press a colon, or either you can use this technique or you can use this technique, and here you will say super name comma age comma address. It means super method will call the parent and then it will set up those values to the parent class. So right now it is saying the expression doesn't evaluate to a function, so it can't be invoked. So it is complaining here that this function cannot be called here. So I think I am misusing it. We have to use it something like this, and then we have to put curly brackets here. So we are not required to use this anymore because we are not using any code here in this person. So this is the way: create an employee class and then call the super method and pass them all those arguments which you have passed here, and it will automatically be mapped with this person class, and we have got no issue with our classes. So if I run this program now, I have to create employee. So I will say employee emp is equal to new, or you don't need to use new keyword, employee, and then inside this I will remove it and simply I will say emp.info, emp.info. And now it is complaining that you have passed 3 arguments but you have to pass 5 arguments. So I will say pk comma, this is our salary. So now our code is working fine. I will run it, but you will see welcome to Jane Doe, your age is 25 and your address is London, UK, and you are not going to see these 2 variables, which is a social security number and the salary. For that we have to override this function. This is another technique where you will put an override annotation like this. This means this function has been overridden from its parent. Now I will copy this code because I have to override it. Then address, and your SSN is $SSN, your salary is $salary. That's it. Sorry, I think I have written the wrong spellings. Now override. No, it's fine. Okay, now when I will run emp.info, it will run this function and will show us the complete info. Now you see welcome Jane Doe, your age is 25 and your address is London and UK, and your SSN is 23432 PK, your salary is 400,000. Now if I want to show the dollar, I will say /$. This is we have seen in the previous video tutorial, introduction to Dart programming language. So now it will show a dollar symbol. Previously, yes, here you see. So this is how we use classes and inheritance. Then there are many other things, but those are advanced topics. Right now, we need to understand only two things to work with Flutter widgets: that how can we create classes, how can we extend classes. Right now, we don't need to talk about interfaces, mixings, and there are lots of other things as well. There are advanced topics like lists, how we can use lists. We will discuss them as we move on. But for the time being, this is a small introduction to the object-oriented programming in Dart programming language. So guys, this is it. Thank you very much for watching this video tutorial till the end. I hope you have already liked the tutorial, and if you are interested to learn more about Google Flutter, then don't forget to subscribe to the TechTechTuts channel by pressing the red subscribe button below. With that being said, I'm your host on TechTechTuts signing off. Take care and goodbye.